All right. So thank you all for attending today. My name is Remy Sabori. I'm a senior partner marketing specialist at PTC, and I am proud to announce our partner here, Illumination Works, as one of our finest IoT and AR partners of ours that is going to talk to us today about Expert Capture, specifically about the powerful AR-enabled instructions that can improve workforce quality and agility. So again, I'm Remy Sabori at the end from the far right, and then I'm proud to announce and introduce Jim Blau, Digital Transformation Expert at Illumination Works, as well as Don Cabin, the Vuforia Technical Expert at Illumination Works. So again, just repeat one more time, this session is being recorded, and if there are any questions, please use the Q&A button functionality at the bottom of your screen, and we will take any and all questions depending on time at the very end. So now I'm proud to pass over to Jim.
Thank you a lot. Thank you, Remy. Thank you for the opportunity to talk about Expert Capture. So before we get into the actual product, I'd like to talk to you a little bit about some of the challenges that we see in the industrial marketplace. Those challenges are actually being exacerbated by what we're seeing with COVID-19 and lockdowns and just limiting what we can do and going out and supporting our clients. So what we're seeing is a growing worker skills gap. What that means is a number of our most skilled and most experienced workers are leaving the marketplace. As a matter of fact, over 50% of workers are eligible for retirement within the next 5 years. We also see a number of jobs not being filled in the millions. And finally, we see a very high turnover rate, over 30%. So we see this gap. And we also see new workers that want to learn different than the existing workers. We also see products and processes that are very complex and require a lot more up-to-speed skills. We see the fact is that things like maintenance, things like service are very complex and there's a number of configurations. And we see customer demands. Customers demand things to be available immediately, high expectations, high SLAs, and we're in a global market. So we see these demands placed upon every company. So if we look at workers and how they learn today, this is kind of indication of what a lot of people will do. Really, there's really two ways it's done today. They learn on the job or in advance, or they learn kind of on the job. In the advanced type of learning is all around classrooms or videos, and we see that as being prescriptive. We see also on the job type of training. This is either someone has a manual, they have a mentor, someone who's more skilled side by side with them teaching something, or they learn by making mistakes. So as you can imagine, this way of learning is not ideal. We see this as being high cost. We're seeing limited uptake. As a matter of fact, we see that after 1 hour, what you learn, you only retain 50% of that. After a week, you only retain 10% of what you learn. So you lose a lot of retention. We see this being high risk because it's not repeatable. We see a real reliance in this environment, especially on the job training, onto mentors or our experts. And thus we impact the productivity of those people and really across all of our company. So we were going to introduce a new way of learning, something that's in the moment when I need it. And kind of think about it as if you're going to go out and you want to work on something, you've got a project at home. You tend not to go and look for a manual. You're going to look for a YouTube video. And that's kind of what you'll see with what Expert Capture can deliver. So we see this new way of learning, as you can see, and this is what Don is going to show to us in a couple of minutes. We see lower cost. We see higher retention. We reduce the risk because we now have a repeatable process in training and instructions. We see the fact is that our experts, what they teach is consistent and we can keep repeating it. And finally, we see an increase in the productivity of our workforce, both the experts and new workers. So where does Expert Capture fit in? And in a couple of weeks, we're going to talk about Studio, which is another offering from PTC and the Vuforia family. That takes a lot of the existing capabilities. In the case of Expert Capture, it's a standalone. I don't need existing step-by-step assets. If I have training instructions that are available, but they're poor quality, or maybe they're not available at all, that's where Expert Capture fits in. If I don't have CAD data or documentation available to me. And finally, is Expert Capture really helps in those environments where are highly regulated with safety and compliance. And a lot of our businesses we see have that. This is a good example of a client that used Expert Capture and their success. They see that their training time got cut in half, and we see the fact is their documentation of their standard operating procedures are increased tenfold. And it's all because they're capturing the wisdom of those experienced workers. So how does Expert Capture work? It's kind of as easy as 1, 2, 3, and Don's going to show this to us. We capture the expertise. We go through step by step, and we capture that from the experts, and we then make that available. We then enhance that expertise. This just simply means is we fine tune it, we do some editing, we may pull in some additional content. And again, Don will show that to us in a few minutes. And then we really scale that. So we now take this capability, this understanding of a few, and we provide that out into our entire workforce of frontline workers. So if we look at the product itself, we have these 3 steps: capture, edit, and view. We capture this, and Don is going to show with a RealWear headset how that looks. And we capture that. We then have an editor, and again, Don will show us how the editing is done, how straightforward it is, how simple it is. And finally is I can view it. I can view it across multiple different devices: phones, tablets, laptops, headwear, or I can even do actual documentation. I can actually do it in a Word doc. So what the nice thing about Expert Capture, it takes and captures from a few experts that then gets edited by a very limited number of publishers that are going to make some change and publish it out. And then it's viewed across the masses, all of your frontline workers, whether that's 5, 10, 50, 100, and they can view this across any device. So with that as the intro, I want to turn it over to Don to show us Expert Capture.
Well, thanks, Jim. I appreciate that. And good day to everyone. Thanks for joining the demo wherever you are in the world. We really appreciate you coming in and seeing what we've got to show you here. And I'm just going to switch my screen over now. Just give me a second. We're going to do a demonstration on a standard bench drill press. And hopefully that should be coming up here shortly.
Good to go.
Good to go. Excellent. Yeah, we're going to use a standard drill press. And I just want to talk a little bit about what I've got wearing on my head here. This is a RealWear HMT1 headset. It's an Android device. They actually make one for explosive environments as well. We really have been using this for about 2 years. This is a really great piece of hardware. We've had no problems. They're very rugged. They've been in some pretty tough environments of extremes of hot and cold. And we even have a client that's been using them about a year in a very extreme environment, and they've had no issues whatsoever. So we're really, really happy with the RealWear headset. And the thing is, it's just a camera. It's a little Oculus, which I'm going to place in front of my eye now, a little monitor. It comes with some noise canceling headphones and a speaker, so that if you wanted to play the capture back to somebody on the drill press, it's going to be able to be heard by that person, and they can go right through the procedure itself. It's very, very good hardware. So I'm going to actually get started here. And what you're seeing is what I'm seeing through my Oculus. So let's just get going with the capture. My programs, capture, new capture. Now, the first thing that you can see here is that there's a crosshair. It's really straightforward to get started with this. You just line up where you are looking to the crosshair. And I'm looking there at the center of the press on the plate. And then you say start capture. So let me talk a little bit about this screen. You have the ability to do a couple of neat things here. If you want to go back later in your editing, you can actually say place bookmark. place bookmark. And that can be referenced later. You can also take a still photo. Excuse me, a little adjustment there. You can say take photo. And that comes into play when you are doing your documentation. Every step should have a still photo, and I'll talk about that. Another couple new cool features with the RealWear is that you can actually zoom. So you can zoom level 5 and go right into what you're looking at. You can actually zoom level 1 back out again, zoom level 1. And it just really has a nice feature. The other thing that you won't probably be able to see here, it has a flashlight. Flashlight on, flashlight on, flashlight off. It's that simple. And in a really dark environment, that just works so great. We've had some clients where we've been in some very dark wheel wells under aircraft, and everything really shows up well after that. This is a lightweight headset, and at this point we are recording, so I'll show you the steps that we do. The typical process, and this is the beauty of Expert Capture, is that your steps are already taken care of for you, and you'll see that in the editor. So for example, in this one, we were going to change the pulley speed on the drill press. So I would say next step, next step. And the first step here is to make sure that when you're doing the drill press pulley, that you want to make sure that the power is off. Next step, pull out on the lockout so the power doesn't get activated. Next step, check that the device is unplugged, always important. Next step, lift the pulley cover. Next step. And a good example of using the zoom on this would be to see this knob here on the right-hand side that I'm going to loosen. Zoom level 5. So then I loosen the knob to take care of the motor, which is under tension here on a spring in the back. I'm not going to do that for you because it's a little bit difficult actually in the home factory, but that would be the sequence of events that you would do to capture a process. So at this point, you actually just say finish capture, save capture, and done. And I'm going to say navigate home now. And I'm going to mute microphone just for the purposes of showing you how the edit works. So I'm going to hop back over here to my computer. And show you how to pull in those files. So the RealWear headset is connected to by a USB cable to your computer, and it shows up under your navigator as HMT1. And so you go into internal storage, you look for the Vuforia Capture folder, you go in there and you find the most recent folder, and you right click and say copy that. And then you go over to your local drive and you just say paste. That simple. It takes a few seconds to go over. And once that's done, then the editing is done through a browser-based app. And I'll talk about this layout here in just a second. But the first thing you would do to create a new procedure is you just go right over here and say create new procedure. And give it a name, and then browse to that folder that we had just created. Select it, upload.
Hey Jim, sorry, hey Don, could you share your screen for us?
Oh, I'm sorry, you guys are not seeing that right now?
No. Yeah, I'm pulling that up. No worries.
That's strange. It says I'm still sharing. Can you see it there? No? Huh. Might be a little Zoom oddity. Let me see what I can do there. I'll stop the share and I'll reshare it.
Yep, no worries.
Strange. Are you able to see that screen now?
Yep, good to go.
Good, okay, that was weird.
Thank you. Yeah.
The same thing it said before, but anyway, so I just started the new procedure, and then uploaded the folder, and actually, well, I haven't uploaded yet. I checked the folder. So when this cloud turns green, you would hit this button here, say create. And what that would do, that would start copying the files from your local PC up to the cloud. I won't do that because it does take some time depending on the size of the capture. In the matter of minutes, not very long at all. I'm gonna close that out. So the editor is a two-part editor. This is typically how you do the editing. On the right-hand side is the procedure, and I have actually preloaded one. And that just allows you to create steps and drag in both still pictures and the videos of what you've just captured. To add a step, you just can say add step above or below, and then you put in some sort of text around that. And then if you go over to the other side here, to the left-hand side, for example, you could go and pick an image. And for example, and this is something I want to talk about, you can bring in external videos and external images from your internal documentation or from some standard of QA department or safety department. In this case, I picked some ISO 7010 manufacturing, and you can drag that right in. You can do the same thing with a video, drag that right in. And it's very, very easy to use. One of the other nice features of this is that you can actually go over, and I'll show you back to the capture. Again, you can, right out of the gate, you can take and I'll drag down here, you can take the steps as you've captured them. Again, the beauty of Expert Capture, you don't have to do any editing if you didn't want to. You could just take step 4, put it in, place it into step 4 on the right-hand side, step 8, place that in. You could do it and you'd be done, and it'd be completely okay. But a couple other cool things that it does, it allows you to take a clip. So you can go in and say, oh, I only want to capture one part of that, for example. Or you can, this is a timeline you might be familiar with in a typical video editing, that you can go in and you can say, grab an image that wherever the red bar is, you can grab a photo of that as well. It's really, really cool. And then you can put that wherever you want it to go, and you have to rename it. So there's a lot of nice features on there. I'll show you one in the finished documentation that's a little easier to see. But on the right-hand side, so once you've gone through and you've built all your capture and your documentation, important for your documentation, you want to have a still picture at every step. And once you are happy with that, you can actually preview that. And this actually is a replica of Vuforia View, which I'll show you the display of the procedure on the headset itself. This is what it would look like to your end users if they were to pull this up on a phone, a tablet, Apple desktop, or a Windows desktop. And you can kind of get the idea. And we'll go through the exact same thing here a little bit later. I'll show you the live capture. And that's, once you're ready to present your finished document to the people, you've previewed it. All you need to do to publish that is you just go over and say, click the publish button. Very straightforward. At that point, that's ready. That's actually going to be, that link is going to be available to your folks that have this already on their device, or they can grab that for the first time. And the way that you grab for desktop playback within an Apple or a Windows PC, you can do a link for a phone or a tablet, and then you can also download it into your document, a Word document. So let me just show you that real quick in terms of what that looks like in terms of a Word document. And we have a visitor. My dog didn't get the memo that I had a webinar here today, so let's hope she doesn't interfere. So this is the documentation that it produces, and it's pretty nice. You want to have, again, a still picture for every step. You can bring in your safety images, but I wanted to highlight this in particular. Within the editor, you have a palette of icons and some freehand drawing and things you can actually put in, overlay graphics on top of that relative to anything you might want to annotate on that. you that. And so this documentation is all generated from the download, and it might satisfy both your QA or your legal department, whatnot. Very straightforward. So at this point, you've got your new procedure, you've done your editing, you've done all your fancy annotations. One thing I want to point out here is that going back to the images and everything, you have an option over here that you can look at all content, you can look at procedures, which are your edited, completed things. You can look at your captures, which are just your raw elements. And you can also look at images, and you can look at videos, both internal and external. And kind of cool, like for example, if you're starting to build your library, you see it's very fastly searchable. So you can build a library of those symbols and then go look them up and put those into your appropriate procedure without very much difficulty at all. The same with anything in terms of a procedure, or excuse me, a step or a video or anything of that nature. You can borrow a lot of your previous work so you don't have to rework your videos and so forth. And I should note that at this point, we've had customers that were able to create their own videos within 2 days. So we came in on a Monday, introduced them to the product, showed them how to use it, gave them some best practices, and they were actually going and completing a fairly decent videos within the end of the second day. So at this point, I'd like to show you that you've gotten all that stuff and you're ready to consume that procedure within the device. So let me open that up again. So at this point, let me just turn on my microphone so they can register. My programs are there. Yep. View. So Vuforia View is what's used on the phone, on the tablet, on the PC or the Apple. This is what I showed you in the preview, but this is something that you can go in and have your users consume. And this is a perfect example, consuming this within a RealWear headset. The other nice feature, and I'll show you kind of the screen, is that you actually have the ability to see the library. Sometimes it gets a little bit confused on the voice in a noisy environment, but they can go find any one of the particular procedures that you've what's called published and made available to them from a security standpoint. And you can control all the security of which users see what procedures too. It's all controlled at a very granular level. You can also take that procedure and you can actually download that to the device, to the RealWear headset. So if you have a problem with no Wi-Fi or inadequate Wi-Fi on your shop floor and your warehouse or whatnot, it's no problem. The person can just download it ahead of time and they'll have it available to them. And one thing that is really good for the novice users, and what we recommend, is that you actually go to the bookmarks. And if a user is trying to train up on a particular, procedure that might be something that's really important to them, maybe they only want to focus on a couple procedures, they can do the bookmark here. And I'll show you how simple this is to consume. Open change drill speed. Right, and so this is the screen that I showed you before. And let me show you the menu, some of the options they have here. Menu. They've got a couple different options there relative to going into the step list. That's typical, or to download the thing locally. And it's actually going to try to do the download here right now. We'll let that happen. So let me show step list. This is really good because you can actually see that maybe your employee is having trouble with just like one part of the procedure. They can instantly jump to that. Step 4, and view more. So they can see quite a bit of content of that, and this is where you entered in your steps, that document, that comment in each step. This is where that can be displayed. Close. So you can put your commentary on your left-hand side, your text, which maybe need to be very specific, and on the right-hand side, in that little viewport window, it's actually set up kind of like sub-steps. So if you have multiple pictures, multiple videos, they can all be seen within it. And let me show you that really quickly. Open. So in this case, I have a still picture that if they want to see that, just, oh yeah, I kind of see where that is relative to the geometry in the machine, great. Or they can say next. And this will actually play the video. And I've got that cranked up. Can you guys hear that at all?
Yes.
So you get the hang of that. And you go backward or forward. You can have the ability to go back or forward within the video as well. Close. And navigate back. And so that's pretty much the how you can consume that within the headset. So this is going to be the same view, whether it is in the phone, tablet, or PC. It's going to be a consistent one-time deploy. And at this point, I think I covered everything I wanted to cover. I did maybe want to quickly show that annotation, if we could, that palette. So let me see if I can pull that back up here. Let me mute microphone. So back to the capture, and I've got a filter out here. So there, back to the capture. Again, I could say take a still photo here, create an image, and actually go out and create that image. And then go look up that image within the images and edit. And just so you guys can, everybody on the call can see, there's some neat annotations. You can do the text, you can center left, right, center, change colors, do some cropping, do some rotations, edit, have shapes, icons. It's a really nice, simple palette to do that annotation. And it could become very valuable for your documentation and for your end users, just to give them a little bit more clarity on the presentation, on the procedure, and what to do and what not to do. So I'm gonna say yes, close this just for example. So at that point, I think I've showed you everything I wanted to show you. Jim, I'm gonna go back to you.
Thank you, Don. Appreciate it. So Don took us through what the capabilities of Vuforia Expert Capture can provide. And these are some of the business values that you get. And these all address those items that we talked to in the beginning. We increase productivity. We can get workers up faster. We can reduce things like downtime and scrap. We can adhere to safety and compliance regulations, and we can improve customer sat. All those things are done. And one of the other things is, from a service standpoint, is we can reduce the cost without having to have repeat visits and improve first time to fix. And as we talk about Chalk next week, that also enhances what we can do with Expert Capture. So Illumination Works, as Remy said, is one of the leading AR business partners with PTC. And this is two examples of customers that we've worked with in helping them use Expert Capture in the maintenance space, in two different locations. The first really just around capturing that, and that's what Don said about being up and running in a couple of days. And the second one really couples what we do with Studio, and which we will talk about in one of our following seminars, and what we can do with Expert Capture. But again, is being able to take that expertise, provide it to new maintenance workers, and be able to provide something that is repeatable. So with that, I'm gonna turn it back over to Remy.
All right, thank you, Jim and Don. We have a minute left, and we did have 4 questions come in, but it looks like all 4 were actually answered by Don during the actual session. So I'm not going to go into any of them at this time, but just want to call out that we do have 2 more webinars as part of this series coming up. First on September 10th, and then following on the 24th on Chalk, and then the latter one on the 24th on Studio. So 2 more sessions as part of the series, and definitely want to thank, again, the other panelists, Jim and Don. And if there are any follow-up questions, you can reach out to Jim directly. His contact is here, and Don's contact as well. So again, thank you all for taking the time today to join us, and we will be in touch with this recording again after the fact, and hope you all have a wonderful day and Labor Day weekend when it gets there. All right. Thank you again.